There's a yellow storm warning outside, and I'd like to talk about the kinds of feedback loops that learning and management share. And it's kind of a specific one. Like with these videos, it's been a bit of a learning curve. I've been getting into practice and figuring things out. And the key when you're learning a new skill, especially in creative media, is you need to have more taste than you have capability. So you recognize the flaws in what you do and you can, correct them. And this is both frustrating because your ability lags your taste. You can see, that you're not good enough. But it's also kind of rewarding in that you can see your own improvement almost live, especially at the beginning, and then as you get better, your taste evolves and becomes more nuanced, and you start spotting more details. And this feedback loop of observation, action, and observation is essential to learning. But it's also essential to management. It's kind of how you optimize, or not even optimize, just organize processes throughout a company. And without the feedback part, where you see the consequences of the action, you can't really do any changes or improvement. And one of the things that masks feedback, that prevents it from being registered or understood, is, well, I want to say too much automation, but what I really mean is variability in processes that are outside of your control. A classic example of this is that back when I was first starting to get into photography, that would be 30 years ago. Even then, one of the recommendations was that you should start off with a fully manual camera, because that way you can observe each variable as it changes and the effect it has on the result. And this was especially important in film, where the feedback loop was not as tight as in digital. And it's especially important now when we have like the iPhone cameras that are so heavily automated, where your actions might not have any effect on the end result. It's just you're limited to composition and nothing else. There's no scope for learning there, which is why I tend to pick Halide over the iPhone app, because that they have a mode that bypasses most of the machine learning, and that means I can actually figure out what this camera is good at and learn how to use it. And this has been appearing again in the video making process I've been working on. Specifically, there is one aspect of it that is so much more variable than the rest, and that you probably can guess, and it's the captioning. Now, I've been testing out using various AI methods for automatic captioning, but only for the first draft, because the first pass, even for the larger models that are big enough to cause trouble for my machines, even those are the first pass result is unusable. Best case scenario I found is that it takes 10 to 15 minutes for a 10 to 15 minute video to be cleaned up. So I have to go in there, manually clean it up to bring it up to the level of captioning that I'm used to, as somebody who's been using captions since I was always. But that's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario, which happens strangely often, where you have on the one, two different videos shot in the same location with the same microphone, with the same speaker, but one is the model has no problem with, and well, no problem. It still needs 10 to 15 minutes of cleanup, but the other might need 45 or minutes or an hour to clean up because it's so much worse. And there doesn't seem to be any predictability about it. There's no single cause, and it's frustrating, especially because if it takes 45 minutes or an hour, I'd be quicker just writing down the captions using with the assistance of subtitling or captioning software, and this is an important issue, that AI is supposed to save money but inject variability, and that variability costs money, that increased cost. I can swallow that added cost in terms of time because I'm an individual working alone, but companies who build up processes and work with sequences of actions in teams, variability in one place can compound in the other. It expands, and it basically can throw an entire project over budget and over time. And traditionally, this is what you're supposed to pay to manage. When you're a manager, you pay somebody. When you've got highly variable process on your end, that's the process that you want to pay to have an expert deal with, who knows how to do it without that variability, without that volatility being injected into your organization. But the problem now is that most, if not all, of the like captioning companies that I looked into, I'm not in the budget yet to go for those sort of services. But if these videos continue and make money or lead to me, business elsewhere, then I might or probably will. But the problem with looking into the captioning companies is that it's impossible for me to tell whether they'll just be passing on the volatility of their underlying AI software that they all seem to be using, or whether they will do the job of handling the variability and reducing my overall costs. And that's what's been my fundamental disappointment with this AI bubble, in that there's so many people I know who work in consulting or management who know better. They know how, one of the core principles, what some people in management theory call the germ theory of management, is to reduce variability. They know that this is what they're supposed to. They know that this is their job. This is what they're for, is to reduce the variability of the individual elements of the processes that in the organization, so that it can be managed overall. Without that effort, you just have chaos. And they know it, but nobody they've all abandoned the principles, it feels like. They're slowly sabotaging companies in exchange for money, because that's what benefits you when there's a bubble. And I don't know, it's disheartening to think about it. And that if I were willing to actually harm my customers, I would be better off. I would have more business. But I'm not. So I'm not. It's a thought. Not a pleasant one, but it's a thought.